The glow of red and blue lights illuminated the dark suburban street as Officer Paul Hargrove shouted commands through the static of his radio. Across from him, Dr. Marcus Bennett stood with his hands raised, his calm yet piercing gaze locked onto the officer. "Step back," Hargrove barked, his hand hovering near his holster. But Marcus didn't flinch. His measured tone cut through the tension like a knife. "Officer, you have no idea who you're dealing with." The gathered crowd murmured in stunned confusion as Marcus's badge glinted under the harsh light, a badge that could either make or break Hargrove's career. What began as a routine stop was now spiraling into a confrontation that neither man would forget. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. If gripping stories like this intrigue you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more thought-provoking tales. The story begins on the quiet streets of Brookhaven, where Dr. Marcus Bennett, a respected psychologist, was driving home after a long day. Dressed in a sharp navy suit, he blended professionalism with a quiet charisma. As the orange glow of the setting sun reflected off his car's hood, Marcus slowed to a stop at an intersection. Suddenly, the piercing wail of a police siren shattered the calm. Officer Paul Hargrove, a wiry man with a permanent scowl, stepped out of his cruiser, his expression a mixture of authority and suspicion. Approaching Marcus's car, Hargrove demanded his license and registration. Marcus complied without hesitation, his demeanor calm but watchful. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Hargrove asked, his tone sharp. "No, officer," Marcus replied, his voice steady. Hargrove claimed Marcus had failed to signal a turn, though Marcus was sure he had. But before Marcus could process the situation, the atmosphere shifted. Hargrove's questions became invasive, his tone accusatory, his gaze laced with something darker. "Where are you headed dressed like that?" Hargrove asked, leaning closer to the window. Marcus met his gaze unflinchingly. "Home, after a long day at work." Hargrove's smirk deepened. "Work, huh? And what kind of work requires that suit?" Marcus's patience didn't waver. "I'm a psychologist." The answer only seemed to irritate Hargrove further. He stepped back, folding the documents in his hand. "Step out of the car," he ordered. Marcus exited his vehicle, his polished shoes clicking against the asphalt. As he stood by the car, Hargrove began an unnecessary and overly invasive search, patting him down and scanning the inside of his car. "This is standard procedure," Hargrove muttered, though his actions betrayed a need to assert control. The tension was palpable as Marcus calmly endured the ordeal. Nearby, a small group of bystanders had started to gather, their murmurs growing louder as they witnessed the scene unfolding. Among them was a young woman who whispered to her companion, "Why are they treating him like that? He's just standing there." Marcus's voice broke through the mounting tension. "Officer, is this really about a traffic violation? Or is there something else you're looking for?" Hargrove bristled, stepping closer. "Watch your tone." "Tone?" Marcus repeated, his voice firm. "I'm only asking for the same respect I've shown you." The crowd grew restless, their quiet protests reaching Hargrove's ears. A man holding his phone discreetly recorded the encounter. Hargrove's frustration boiled over. "Turn around and put your hands on the car," he barked. Marcus complied, his movements slow and deliberate. As Hargrove continued his search, the growing crowd began to challenge the officer. "Why are you treating him like a criminal?" someone shouted. "He hasn't done anything wrong," yelled another. At that moment, Marcus spoke again, his voice steady but edged with authority. "Officer, I think it's time I show you something." Hargrove hesitated, his hand hovering near his holster. "What are you talking about?" Marcus slowly reached into his pocket. "I'm reaching for my badge," he said, his movements measured. The crowd fell silent as Marcus revealed a gleaming badge. "Dr. Marcus Bennett," he said, holding it up for all to see. "Consultant for the State Department's Police Oversight Committee." Hargrove froze, his confidence visibly faltering. The crowd gasped, whispers rippling through the group. "Your oversight?" Hargrove stammered, his face pale. Marcus nodded, his expression calm yet unyielding. "And you, Officer Hargrove, have a lot to explain." Before Hargrove could respond, the young woman who had been watching stepped forward. "I saw everything," she said, her voice steady. "He didn't do anything wrong." The man with the phone chimed in. "This wasn't about a traffic stop. This was harassment." Even the bartender from a nearby cafe, who had joined the crowd, added, "I've seen this officer pull stunts like this before. It's about time someone held him accountable." Hargrove's facade crumbled under the weight of the accusations. I was just doing my job," he stammered. "No," Marcus said quietly. "You were abusing your authority, and now you'll face the consequences." Days later, a hesitant knock echoed through Marcus's front door. When he opened it, a familiar face stood on the porch. Officer Hargrove, dressed in plain clothes. "Dr. Bennett," Hargrove began, his voice heavy with regret. "I owe you an apology." Marcus studied him for a moment before stepping aside. "Come in." Hargrove explained his actions, revealing the biases he had grown up with and the pressures of his job. Marcus listened, his expression thoughtful. "I want to change," Hargrove said, his voice breaking. "But I don't know how." "You've taken the first step by admitting it," Marcus replied. "The rest is up to you." Months later, Marcus stood at a community forum, addressing a room full of officers and residents. Hargrove was in attendance, no longer the man he once was. Marcus's words carried the weight of experience and hope. "Accountability isn't about punishment. It's about growth," he said. "We all have biases, but acknowledging them is the first step to overcoming them. Together, we can build a system that truly serves everyone." The applause was deafening. Hargrove clapped along, a small but genuine smile on his face. "What do you think about Hargrove's decision to apologize? Would you have forgiven him if you were in Marcus's place? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories that inspire and challenge.